Paul Goldsmith.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This budget is a sensible one. It takes a firm line on spending and invests in our future during difficult times. Like households all around New Zealand, this government knows that we have to live within our means. That means paying down debt. It means going over all the spending and making sure that it makes good sense. It means looking for ways to get what we want for less, and also figuring out how to improve our income. That's what households are doing, and that's what this government is doing, and no wonder this budget has resonated so well. I just want to respond to a couple of canards that we've heard from the other side. First is that this is some sort of do-nothing budget. What a load of rubbish. This government has stuck to a consistent line for the past few years, setting a path back to surplus. Consistency and stability are precious commodities in this world. And true, it does not represent a radical departure, and that's quite right, because a sensible direction was set out in 2010 in terms of the tax settings, and subsequently the focus on rebuilding Christchurch and delivering better public services has continued, and it makes sense to continue such a line. And this represents an evolution of that strategy, the wisdom of which is becoming more and more apparent with each passing month as we look around the world and see the situations that other countries have got themselves into. We should also consider for a moment some of the other proposals from the other side. Labour's solution seems to be, the solution to every problem seems to be a capital gains tax, and it still is beyond me how taking more tax from small businesses, from farmers and other businesses can be some way of growing the economy. That's no way to grow the economy.
Why don't mainstream economists promote the idea then?
The Greens talk in a dreamlike manner about green industries, as if somehow they will magically arise and lift our living standards. Well, the National Party is much more realistic about what it takes to grow an economy. And it's about, at the end of the day, additional jobs and economic growth come from companies being successful. And companies are only successful if they beat the competition. And you only beat international competition if you deliver products that are either better or cheaper than the rivals. And ideally, they'll be even better. They'll be cheaper and better. And I can think of 6 drivers for business growth that we don't hear about much from the opposition. It's about innovative ideas, it's about capital, it's about raw materials, it's about skills, customers and infrastructure. And I want to go through each of these 6 in turn. And if we start off with ideas...
Technology takes the skills.
Well, we'll get there. We start off with ideas. The innovation ideas reflect the genius of the people, young folk coming up with new apps or new products, and the government can help. And one area that the government is making a significant investment is in the research and innovation. We're going to be spending over the next 4 years $166 million in the Advanced Technology Institute, helping high-tech firms boost productivity. $60 million for the National Science Challenges. $100 million increasing the performance-based research fund that is available to universities, and $59 million more for science and engineering tertiary courses. So the government can't come up with all the ideas, but it can create an environment in the research and development area where this country will be producing more ideas that companies can draw on to be successful. If we turn to capital, well, we do have amongst the lowest interest rates that we've had for decades, and that's helpful if you're trying to get access to capital, isn't it? That you're not having to pay unreasonable amounts for that capital. And those low interest rates that companies have available to them are the direct result of consistent, stable, sensible economic policies that this government has been driving over these last 4 years. Another area which is important in the capital is the mixed ownership model, which will give a fillip to the New Zealand's capital markets, which have been thin and weak over the past few decades. And so, and the Greens, of course, are protesting as usual about this. I see that they're advertising on student job search to pay people to go out and fill petitions. I'm not sure about that, but it would be interesting to know. Contrast the National Party's approach to getting access to more capital with the other side, and what you find is a inward-looking opposition to any foreign investment. They're opposed to that, especially if it's Chinese, if you're dealing with New Zealand first, and turning inwards, and that, to me, is no recipe for growth. So the National understands that Successful companies need access to capital. What about raw materials? Well, this government recognises that New Zealand has rich resources on its land and throughout its vast, exclusive economic zone. Labor and Greens, they don't want to do anything with it. They don't want to touch it. They prefer to export our next generation to Australia to help them make use of their natural resources. Well, that doesn't seem to make good sense to me. And if we talk about primary industries as well, growing production through irrigation and intensification are all the sorts of things we need to do to make a better living in this world. And that's what this national government has been focusing on. So what have we got here? We've got successful businesses having greater access to ideas, to capital, to raw materials, and before we close at 6 I can talk about skills and education. We all want our kids to leave school with the knowledge and skills that they need to reach their potential in the 21st century. In education, our focus is increasing student achievement, not just pouring more and more teachers over the line without focusing on the results. And over the next 4 years, we'll be committing $511.9 million in the budget towards new early education, new early childhood and schooling initiatives, as well as another $59 million invested in teacher quality to support professional development for teachers and principals.
What about the technology teachers?
So we're ticking off that one. Then if we move to customers, well, customers, that's all about market access and free trade. And thankfully, the Labor Party, notwithstanding Mr Shearer's anti-foreign investment rhetoric, still believes that actually having access to international markets through free trade is still an important thing. I have no confidence whatsoever that the Green Party would be at all interested in maintaining New Zealand's open access to international markets. They seem to be against trade. But
sorry to interrupt the honourable member. The time has come for me to leave the chair for the dinner break. This debate is interrupted. I shall resume the chair at 7:30.